The small colony on the edge of human space had never seen anything like it. Far from the bustling centers of human civilization, this remote world was a quiet place, filled with hard-working colonists who rarely saw visitors. But today, something extraordinary was happening. A strange, glowing light appeared in the sky, brighter than the sun, casting an eerie glow across the land. The colonists watched in awe as a massive alien craft descended slowly toward the ground. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, sleek and beautiful, its surface shimmering with colors that seemed to shift and change. As the craft touched down on a large open field near the colony center, the air seemed to hum with energy. A hush fell over the crowd as the ship's hatch slowly opened. Standing at the threshold of the ship was a figure that made everyone gasp. She was unlike anything the humans had ever imagined. The woman who stepped out of the ship had skin that glowed faintly, like the surface of a pearl, and her hair seemed to float gently around her, as though moved by an unseen breeze. Her eyes were a deep, glowing violet, and her movements were graceful, almost ethereal. The humans were mesmerized. She wasn't just beautiful. There was something almost otherworldly about her presence. She seemed like a vision, something from a distant dream. She raised one hand in a peaceful gesture, and the crowd remained still, unsure of what to do. She was an emissary, a representative of a race that had been watching Earth for years. And now she had come to offer peace. But as the woman stepped forward, she stumbled and fell to the ground. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. The woman tried to lift herself, but her body was shaking. Her eyes fluttered, and she groaned softly, as though in pain. Her skin began to crack in places, revealing faint, glowing lines beneath. Something was terribly wrong. A team of medical professionals rushed to her side. "Get her to the hospital," shouted Dr. Elias Reed, the head of the local medical team. "Hurry, she's in distress." The alien woman's condition was worsening rapidly. As she was lifted into a transport vehicle, her breathing became shallow, and her body convulsed with each breath. The humans had no idea what was happening, but they knew this was not a normal medical emergency. This was something different, something dangerous. Dr. Reed's mind raced. The technology in the alien ship was advanced far beyond anything Earth had, yet it seemed useless against whatever was attacking the woman. She had come to Earth as an ambassador of peace, but now she was in grave danger, and no one knew how to help her. As the transport vehicle sped toward the medical facility, Dr. Reed stared out the window, his mind filled with questions. What could have caused such a reaction? Was it an attack? And who could have done this to her? The small human colony was about to be swept up in something much bigger than they ever imagined. The arrival of this beautiful alien woman was no longer a peaceful visit. It was the beginning of a race against time. Humanity was about to face a challenge that would test their courage, intelligence, and strength like never before. The alien woman was rushed into the medical facility with all possible speed. The small building was suddenly filled with people, doctors, nurses, and medical staff, all working frantically to understand what had happened to her. Dr. Elias Reed, the leader of the medical team, quickly took charge, his mind racing with questions. The woman's body was covered in strange, glowing cracks, and her breathing was becoming more irregular with each passing minute. No one knew what was wrong with her, but it was clear that time was running out. Dr. Reed carefully examined the alien woman, his fingers brushing lightly against her skin. It felt warm to the touch, but there was a strange energy pulsing beneath the surface. He had never seen anything like it. He had worked with all kinds of medical technology, but this was beyond anything he'd encountered. Her body wasn't responding to the usual treatments, antibiotics, pain relievers, even the most advanced healing technology they had in their arsenal. "Doctor, her heart rate is dropping," one of the nurses called out, her voice filled with panic. Dr. Reed's eyes widened. "Increase the oxygen levels in her chamber. She needs more time." As the nurse adjusted the equipment, Dr. Reed leaned in closer to the alien woman's face. Her violet eyes fluttered open for a moment. and she looked up at him. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Instead, a soft, low hum filled the room. The sound wasn't from her, but from her body, as if her very cells were vibrating with an unknown frequency. "What is happening to her?" Dr. Reed muttered to himself, trying to make sense of the situation. It was as if her body was fighting against itself. Her skin, once smooth and radiant, was now pocked with glowing lines, and her breathing was growing more shallow by the second. He ordered the staff to run every test they could think of. Blood samples, scans, DNA analysis. Nothing came back with any clear answer. The results showed nothing that could explain her condition. It wasn't a virus. It wasn't an infection. Her body wasn't rejecting anything. It was like her cells were slowly turning against her. A feeling of unease settled in Dr. Reed's chest. Whatever this was, it wasn't natural. It was something different. Meanwhile, outside the medical building, the colony was in chaos. News of the aliens' collapse spread quickly, and soon the area was surrounded by curious onlookers, reporters, and even military personnel. The human government was beginning to take notice. What had seemed like a peaceful visit had turned into a dangerous mystery. Some whispered that it was a trap, a trick to destabilize humanity, while others wondered if this was some kind of cosmic disease. Dr. Reed couldn't shake the thought that the woman's illness wasn't an accident. He had seen too many strange things in his years of medical practice. But this was different. Someone had caused this. The alien woman was an emissary of peace, but there was no way she could be the cause of her own condition. Someone, an enemy or a powerful force, had to be behind this. The woman's condition worsened further, and Dr. Reed knew they had to find an answer fast. He couldn't let her die, not when her arrival had meant so much. If she perished, they might never understand the truth behind her mysterious illness, and that truth might be the key to something far bigger than anyone realized. As the medical team scrambled to keep the woman alive, the first hints of something far darker began to emerge. Humanity had never been more at risk, and the race to save her was just beginning. Dr. Reed sat at his desk, staring at the endless rows of data on his screen. Blood tests, scans, DNA reports. Nothing made sense. He had never encountered anything like this before. The alien woman's condition was worsening by the hour, and despite every possible treatment, nothing seemed to help. The glowing cracks on her skin spread farther, and her breathing grew more labored. Time was running out. He rubbed his tired eyes and leaned back in his chair. It was late, and the silence in the room was oppressive. Outside, the colony was still buzzing with whispers and rumors. The news of the alien's condition had spread like wildfire, and everyone was asking the same question: what was happening to her? Dr. Reed ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. There had to be an answer, a clue hidden somewhere in all this data. Then, something caught his attention. A small detail in one of the scans, something he had missed before. His eyes widened as he zoomed in on the image. There, beneath the glowing cracks in her skin, he saw something he hadn't noticed before. Tiny, almost invisible dots in her bloodstream. They were foreign, not human. "Is this poison?" Dr. Reed whispered to himself. He quickly called his team together. Within minutes, they were all in the lab, gathered around the table. Dr. Reed pointed to the scan on the screen. "This," he said, "is not just an illness. It's an attack. She's been poisoned." The room fell silent. Poisoned, but by who? And why? Dr. Reed thought back to the woman's arrival. She had come in peace, offering no threat to humanity. But what if that wasn't the real reason she was here? What if she had been sent as a messenger, and this poisoning was part of something much bigger? He quickly ran more tests. The poison was unlike anything Earth had ever encountered. It was organic, but also had properties of advanced technology. It was as though it was alive, and designed to destroy. It attacked her cells, broke them down from within, and yet somehow kept her alive long enough to be a puppet for whoever controlled the antidote. The discovery sent a chill down Dr. Reed's spine. Whoever had done this had planned it carefully. They had known exactly what they were doing. They wanted control, and the alien woman was nothing more than a tool in their hands. The question now was, who could do something like this? Who had the power to poison a species that was light years ahead in technology? "We need to find out where this poison came from," Dr. Reed said, his voice firm. "We need to know who's behind this." But that wasn't going to be easy. The alien woman's ship was still on the outskirts of the colony, and Dr. Reed's team had been too focused on her medical needs to investigate it fully. There could be clues there, hidden within the ship's systems, but the ship was locked down tight, and no one had been able to break into it without setting off alarms. "We don't have much time," Dr. Reed added. "If we don't find the source of this poison soon, she's going to die." With the woman's life hanging by a thread, Dr. Reed's team scrambled to come up with a plan. They would need to break into the alien ship and uncover its secrets. But the risk was enormous. The ship's advanced technology was dangerous, and whoever had poisoned the woman was probably watching closely. As Dr. Reed turned back to his screen, he realized the truth. The situation was far more complicated than anyone had imagined, and the answers they sought might lead them down a dark path that would change everything for humanity. As the days passed, the alien woman's condition continued to decline. Her body was fighting against the poison, but the battle was one she could not win alone. Dr. Reed and his team worked around the clock, but their efforts seemed futile. The poison was unlike anything they had encountered, and no matter what they tried, it spread deeper into her system. Desperation began to set in. Outside the medical facility, the atmosphere was tense. News of the alien woman's critical condition had spread across the colony, and the entire human population was watching closely. Some citizens were fearful, unsure whether the woman's arrival was truly a sign of peace or if it had been a trap. Others believed that if she died, it would be a devastating blow to Earth's relations with other alien species, but most simply wanted answers. Who had done this to her? Why? In response to the growing crisis, the Earth Space Fleet, led by Commander Jessica Hayes, was called into action. Earth's government feared that if the alien woman died, the galaxy would turn against them. Tensions were already rising as other alien factions began to make their presence known, sending ships into the area. These factions, watching from the shadows, seemed more interested in the alien woman's fate than in peaceful diplomacy. Commander Hayes gathered her team and began planning a mission. "We don't know who did this, but we know one thing for sure," she said, standing in front of her officers. "Whoever is responsible wants us to fail. They're watching us, and we can't let them win." The mission was simple: break into the alien woman's ship and uncover any clues that might explain where the poison came from. The problem was that the alien ship was heavily guarded, both by advanced technology and the mysterious factions that had begun circling the colony. If they were going to get inside, they would have to be quick and careful. Commander Hayes led a small, elite team of soldiers and engineers to the site. As they approached the alien ship, the air seemed to hum with energy. The ship was beautiful, its surface shimmering in the light of the twin suns overhead, but there was something unsettling about it. The closer they got, the more it felt like the ship was alive, watching them, waiting for something to happen. "Stay alert," Hayes ordered, her voice calm but firm. "We don't know what we're walking into." The team moved carefully around the ship, searching for an entry point. The ship's surface was smooth and unyielding, and every time they tried to touch it, an electrical pulse sent a shock through the air. They couldn't risk triggering any alarms. But then, one of the engineers, Lieutenant Mark Wells, found a hidden hatch near the base of the ship. "Here," he said, his voice full of excitement. "This is it. We can get inside." The team quickly got to work, using their tools to open the hatch. The ship's systems seemed to fight them at every turn, but humanity's resourcefulness won out. With a final push, the hatch opened, and they were inside. The interior of the ship was dark and mysterious. Strange symbols lined the walls, and the air felt thick with an unfamiliar energy. They had to move quickly. Time was running out for the alien woman, and the longer they stayed inside, the more dangerous it became. "This ship is a puzzle," said Hayes, her eyes scanning the strange technology around her. "But we're going to figure it out." As the team pushed deeper into the ship, they discovered a series of data terminals that were still functioning. They began downloading everything they could. What they found shocked them. The poison wasn't just a weapon. It was part of a larger plan, one that could shake the entire galaxy. And they had just uncovered the first clue. The team knew they had to get back to the colony fast. The clock was ticking, and the enemy was closing in. The information the team had gathered from the alien ship was more than they could have imagined. As Commander Hayes and her team returned to the medical facility, they were stunned by the revelation. The poison that was slowly killing the alien woman was not a random attack. It was carefully designed, an ancient weapon from a long-forgotten galactic war. Whoever had created this poison knew exactly how to use it, and it was part of a much larger plan to destabilize the galaxy. But the more they discovered, the more questions arose. Dr. Reed and his team worked tirelessly to analyze the data. The poison was alive in a way no one had expected. It was a biological agent, but it had been enhanced with highly advanced technology. The alien woman was a victim of a calculated plot, one that had been decades in the making. But who could have done this? And why her? These were the questions that haunted Dr. Reed as he looked at the information. The worst part was that they didn't have much time. The poison had already spread to critical areas of her body, and her chances of survival were shrinking with each passing hour. If they didn't find a way to stop it soon, she would be gone, and the galaxy would never know what had truly happened to her. "Everything we know tells us that the poison is linked to an ancient war," Dr. Reed said, his voice tight with frustration. "It's a weapon, but its creators are still a mystery. We don't even know who we're dealing with." Commander Hayes frowned as she listened. "That's not enough," she said. "We need to know where this came from and how to stop it. If we don't figure that out, we're going to lose her and any hope for peace between our worlds." The alien woman's life was hanging by a thread. The team knew they had to act fast, but with each new discovery, the situation became more complicated. The weapon was designed to be nearly impossible to treat, and it required a special antidote, an antidote that didn't exist, not yet. The information they had gathered from the ship suggested that the antidote could only be found in a distant part of the galaxy, in a region of space that was controlled by hostile alien factions. Dr. Reed wasn't sure if it was even possible to get to that part of space in time. The clock was ticking, and every moment spent on research was one less moment they had to save the alien woman. But there was one small hope, a trace of information hidden deep within the alien ship's data core. It pointed to a specific location, a distant planet that might hold the answers they needed. If they could reach it, there might be a chance to find the antidote. Commander Hayes knew they had no other choice. "We're going," she said, making the decision without hesitation. "We're going to that planet. We'll find the antidote, or we'll die trying." The human fleet was already on high alert. The colonists had prepared for an emergency evacuation, just in case the situation grew worse. Tensions were rising across the galaxy, and the other alien factions were becoming more aggressive. But the humans were resolute. They wouldn't give up on the alien woman, not when there was a chance to save her. As the fleet set course for the distant planet, Dr. Reed and his team worked around the clock to prepare. They would need all their resources, all their knowledge, to find the antidote before it was too late. They would have to brave dangerous space, hostile territories, and unknown enemies. But nothing would stop them from saving the alien woman. The fate of her species, and perhaps their own, depended on it. The human fleet raced through the dark expanse of space, its engines roaring with urgency. Commander Hayes stood at the front of the command deck, staring at the holographic map projected before her. The planet they were heading to was light years away, deep in an area of space controlled by hostile alien factions. No one knew what to expect when they arrived, but they had no choice. The alien woman's life depended on it. Dr. Reed and his team were aboard one of the ships, working tirelessly to prepare for the unknown. They had only a small window of time before the poison took its final toll, and the pressure was overwhelming. The alien woman, who had once seemed like a beautiful emissary of peace, was now a symbol of the struggle between life and death. Dr. Reed felt the weight of that responsibility every moment he worked. "Commander, we're entering the outer rim of the galaxy's uncharted territories," reported Lieutenant Wells from the communications console. "Good. Keep us on course," Commander Hayes replied without taking her eyes off the screen. "We're going in with everything we've got. No room for mistakes." The fleet was on high alert, knowing the dangers of what lay ahead. The alien factions in this part of space were unpredictable and often hostile to outsiders. No human ships had ventured this far in years, and the chance of encountering danger was high. Yet, despite the risks, Commander Hayes remained calm. She knew they had no other choice. They had to get the antidote, no matter the cost. Days passed in silence as they traveled deeper into enemy territory. The fleet's ships were sleek, built for speed, but even they weren't immune to the dangers of deep space. Strange signals began to appear on their scanners, signals that didn't belong to any known species. Something was out there, watching them. "Commander," Lieutenant Wells called out, "we've got company. Multiple ships on an intercept course. They're not friendly. Brace for impact," Hayes ordered. "Shields up." The human fleet moved into battle formation, preparing for a confrontation. The hostile alien ships appeared on their scanners, sleek and menacing, with weapons ready to fire. A chill ran through the crew as they realized the odds were stacked against them. These aliens had been waiting for them, anticipating their arrival. Commander Hayes stood tall, unwavering. "We're not turning back," she said, her voice filled with determination. "Our mission is to save her, and we will. Get ready, people. We fight for her, and for humanity." The first shots rang out. The human ships responded, dodging the incoming fire as their own weapons returned with deadly precision. The battle was fierce, each side maneuvering and striking in quick, deadly bursts. But even as the human ships fought, the true goal remained in sight, the planet they were heading toward. Dr. Reed worked furiously in his ship's medical bay, monitoring the alien woman's condition. Her body was deteriorating, and every minute counted. "We're almost there," he whispered to himself. "Just hold on." Suddenly, a loud alarm blared through the ship. The scanners had picked up something unexpected. An enormous structure floating in space, far ahead of them. It wasn't a planet. It was something else, something artificial. A massive space station, abandoned, yet still active. This was the place they were looking for. The source of the antidote, hidden within the station's ancient halls. "We found it," Dr. Reed shouted. "It's here. The antidote is on that station." Commander Hayes ordered an immediate course change toward the station, knowing they had no time to waste. But with the enemy still hot on their tail, getting there would be even more dangerous. The fleet was outnumbered, but they would fight to the end. The alien woman's survival was worth everything. The battle raged on as they moved closer to the station, each ship in the fleet fighting to protect the mission. The station was within reach. Time was running out, but humanity had never been more determined to save the life of one being. The journey into the unknown was about to lead them to a final showdown for survival. The human fleet was now on a collision course with the massive space station. It loomed ahead, an ancient, abandoned structure floating in the cold void of space. The enemy ships had closed in, their weapons charging, ready for the final strike. But Commander Hayes knew they had no choice but to press forward. The antidote that could save the alien woman was on that station, and they had to get to it before it was too late. "Everyone, hold your positions," Commander Hayes barked, her voice sharp. "We're not backing down. Protect the station, no matter what." The human ships dodged laser fire, returning fire with expert precision. The battle was chaotic, each ship weaving through enemy fire while trying to reach the space station. Despite the odds, the humans fought with a fierce determination. Every shot, every move was made with the alien woman's life in mind. Dr. Reed, aboard a smaller medical ship, stared anxiously at the screen. He had been monitoring the alien woman's condition throughout the battle. Her body was slowly failing, the poison eating away at her from the inside. His heart raced as he checked her vitals once again. She was barely hanging on. "Hang in there," he whispered to himself. "We're almost there." As the human ships neared the space station, the enemy launched a final desperate wave of attack. A barrage of missiles streaked toward the fleet, and for a moment, it seemed like all hope was lost. But the human ships managed to dodge and counterattack, each victory pushing them closer to the station. Commander Hayes' voice came over the comms again, steady and confident. "This is it, everyone. We get through this, and we save her. Keep fighting." The humans pushed forward, and with one final push, they'd reached the docking bay of the space station. The space station's defenses had been weakened from years of disuse, and the human ships managed to break through the outer defenses. As they docked, the crew quickly suited up and prepared to enter the station. They had no idea what awaited them inside, but they knew that time was running out. Dr. Reed and his medical team were the first to rush inside, navigating the dark, eerily quiet halls of the abandoned station. They had to get to the central lab where the antidote was stored. But as they moved deeper into the station, they realized they weren't alone. The enemy had followed them. A group of hostile alien soldiers, dressed in battle gear, emerged from the shadows. They had set up an ambush, waiting for the humans to make their move. The humans drew their weapons, ready for a fight. Commander Hayes led the charge, her voice cutting through the tense air. "We won't let you stop us. We're getting that antidote." A fierce firefight broke out in the dark hallways of the station. The humans fought with everything they had, their shots accurate and fast. They had no choice but to push forward. Every moment they wasted fighting meant less time to save the alien woman. Dr. Reed and his team raced to the central lab, the sounds of battle echoing behind them. They'd reached the lab and found the antidote, the key to saving the alien woman. He quickly gathered the vials and prepared to return to the medical ship. Just as they were about to leave, an explosion rocked the station. The enemy had planted explosives, and the station was beginning to collapse. "We have to hurry," Dr. Reed shouted, grabbing the antidote and racing back down the hallway. The team made it back to the docking bay just as the last of the enemy forces was defeated. With the antidote in hand, they rushed back to their ship. The battle was over, but there was no time to celebrate. They had to get the antidote to the alien woman. Now, back on the medical ship, Dr. Reed administered the antidote. The alien woman's vitals slowly began to stabilize. Her breathing, once shallow and erratic, became more even. The glowing cracks on her skin began to fade, and for the first time in days, a sense of calm settled over the room. She was alive. Commander Hayes watched from the bridge of her ship as the alien woman's condition improved. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The galaxy was still full of mysteries and dangers, and they had only just begun to uncover the truth behind the attack on the alien woman. But for now, humanity had saved her, and that was enough. The human fleet turned back toward the colony, victorious. The galaxy was watching, and the future of Earth and its place in the stars had just begun.